medical shows on TV tend to be either serious dramas or silly comedies. But back in 2001, one series completely transformed how we think about healthcare storytelling by doing something revolutionary. It showed us that sometimes the best way to deal with life and death is to laugh about it.
That's such an interesting perspective on Scrubs. The way it managed to balance those opposing tones while still feeling authentic really was groundbreaking for its time.
Well, what's fascinating is how Bill Lawrence created this world at Sacred Heart Hospital, where the most absurd situations could exist right alongside deeply emotional moments. And through JD's perspective, those surreal daydream sequences weren't just for laughs. They were this brilliant window into how doctors process the intensity of their work.
You know what's remarkable about those fantasy sequences? They actually helped the show tackle some pretty heavy medical topics in a way that other shows couldn't.
And speaking of authenticity, they made this really interesting choice to film at an actual defunct hospital, the North Hollywood Medical Center. That decision gave everything this genuine feel that you just couldn't replicate on a soundstage.
So, how did they manage to maintain that delicate balance between comedy and drama over such a long run?
Well, a lot of it came down to the incredible cast chemistry. Like, take John C. McGinley as Dr. Cox. Here's this character who could deliver these impossibly long, sarcastic rants that somehow managed to be both hilarious and deeply meaningful. And the way his reluctant mentor relationship with JD evolved over time showed such amazing depth.
That's right. And the friendship between JD and Turk felt so authentic because Zach Braff and Donald Faison actually became close friends in real life.
You know what really set the show apart technically? They used this single camera setup instead of the traditional multi-camera sitcom format, which gave them so much more flexibility in storytelling. They could seamlessly transition from these intimate character moments to these big, elaborate fantasy sequences.
Oh, and let's not forget about how they used music to enhance those emotional moments. It became such a signature part of the show's identity.
That's actually a fascinating point. They spent a huge portion of their budget on music rights because they understood how important it was to the storytelling. It wasn't just background noise. It was this essential element that helped bridge the gap between the comedy and the more serious moments.
The show really did earn those 17 Emmy nominations and that Peabody Award through its innovative approach to storytelling.
And what's particularly interesting is how they handled that 9th season transition. Moving to a medical school setting was this bold experiment that, while divisive among fans, showed how willing they were to take risks and evolve the format.
Well, that experimental spirit might serve them well with this upcoming revival in 2025. Especially given how much medicine has changed since the show first aired.
Right. Just think about all the new material they could explore. From telehealth to AI in medicine, to how COVID-19 completely transformed healthcare. Plus, seeing how these characters have adapted to these changes could be fascinating.
The modern healthcare landscape certainly provides plenty of opportunities for both comedy and commentary.
You know what's really remarkable about Scrubs' legacy? It fundamentally changed how television could approach serious subjects. Real healthcare workers have often said that the show captured something essential about their experience. That sometimes humor is the only way to process the intensity of their jobs.
That authenticity and showing both the light and dark sides of medicine really did set it apart from other medical shows of its era.
Looking ahead to this revival, I think that's probably the most important thing to remember. It wasn't just the jokes or the dramatic moments that made Scrubs special. It was how it showed us that life itself is this mixture of comedy and tragedy, and sometimes the best way to handle both is together.
That's probably why people still connect with it so strongly today. It wasn't afraid to show the full spectrum of human experience in healthcare.
Well, as we wrap up, I think Scrubs' lasting impact really comes down to this. It showed us that even in life's most serious moments, there's room for joy, and even in our silliest moments, there is room for meaning. And that's something that resonates far beyond just medicine. Turns out, hospitals aren't always serious, especially when you've got a janitor with a vendetta.
I still think he's a figment of JD's over-caffeinated imagination.